You do it every day. You climb into your car, and you flip on the radio. Have you ever really thought about the man on the other side? The man behind the microphone?
Now, James Brown up first.
Cool 96.7 is a local Connecticut radio station that plays all your favorites from yesteryear. But don't think that just because they play oldies, they still use the old equipment. Sure, they still have it, but they have officially gone high-tech. Today's guest will explain the technology they use and what it feels like to be on the air.
Hello and welcome to today's edition of Person to Person. Today we will speak with one of Cool 96.7's on-air personality. I would like to introduce to you Mike Robb. Hi Mike.
Hi.
So Mike, what does being a disc jockey entail?
Well, it depends on the type of radio station you work for. If you work for a radio station that is a talk radio station, then you prepare and bring in subjects and you talk. If you work for a music radio station, which has a different, maybe plays oldies like we do at Cool, or maybe a big band or a rock or top 40 or a new radio station like that, you'd be in charge of pretty much putting the show together for 4 hours and keeping everything moving.
Great, and I heard you no longer use the old tape system. Could you describe the computer system you use now?
Right, we saw a little picture of one of the old tape systems there at the beginning of the show, and actually they've become an antique, and not in that long, only maybe the past 4 or 5 years. Everything at our radio stations are on a hard drive, pretty much like you'd have at home on your computer. The music's all on there, all the commercials, everything except the live personality. And sometimes, as I think we'll probably get to a little later on, even the personalities end up on the hard drive as well.
Cool 96.7 runs call-in contests. Could you explain the process?
Sure. On-air contests are part of an ongoing promotion that most radio stations do. It involves the listeners because it's fun to call in and win something and to be a part of the radio station. And it's also good for us because it brings our listeners in and we have a chance to talk to them on the air. And as you see, we have a chance to give out some neat prizes as well. We do it usually on the weekends, but we also do it sometime during the week. It depends on the particular prize we have and what it is. But generally we take a caller. Usually it's caller 9 because we're Cool 96.7. And we take that caller, put them on the air, and give them the prize. And sometimes have fun with them too in the process.
Well, we have some footage. Let's take a look.
Love Songs Weekend, of course, and Dawn, you got yourself a pair of tickets to see the Black and White Blues, the new hit New Orleans restaurant musical going on Off-Broadway right now. If you like details or more tickets, you can get them at blackandwhitebluesthemusical.com, all right?
Okay.
You got all that?
Yes, I got it. Thank you so much.
Well, congratulations. Hey, Dawn, what's a radio station with good times and great oldies?
Cool 96.7.
Who chooses what songs get played on the radio and how do they choose them?
It's a fairly detailed process, pretty much all boiling down to one little word called research. We have a programming department at our radio station that works with the programming department in our corporation, which is Cox Broadcasting, which is the 4th largest broadcasting country in the United States right now. And what they do is they research the type of music we play. In our case, it's oldies from the 60s and 70s, which is a pretty wide space. If we played every song in there, it would be hundreds of thousands of songs. We narrow it down, like I say, with research. And one of the ways they do that is they call in groups of people into a room. And where do they get these people? Well, sometimes they're contest winners. We have their name and address, and then we invite them in. We'll put them in a room. We'll play different songs for them. We'll get their reaction to things. We also do ongoing research on our website where people can listen to the songs that we play and check a little box as to whether they like the song, don't like the song, or whatever. There's a lot more to it than just those 2 functions, but those are 2 that we handle right at the level of the radio station here in Norwalk.
Ah, I didn't know that. Could you inform our viewers about the audio control system you use at your radio station?
Well, everything's put through what they call a board, or a thing probably not unlike a mixer if you have a band, or perhaps even if you have some audio equipment tied to your television set. It's pretty much just a bunch of little switches and knobs, and it's a lot less frightening than it looks. There's a microphone to turn button, to turn the microphone on. There are buttons that put on the music, and there are buttons to put on the callers. And they're all color-coded, so it's not that difficult a process once you step back away from all the colored lights.
And so, who writes what you say on air? And honestly, how much is written beforehand?
We use what we call bullet points. We're left with ideas. Here's an idea we need you to get across while you're on the air. If it's a contest, if it's something a radio station is going to be doing, like for example, we might be doing a food drive at Christmas or a coat drive during the holidays or something like that, or maybe even just something like information like a weather forecast. This last weekend, our big story was obviously the snowstorm. Those things are put up in a bullet point form, and we use our own words to build around that just to get the message across on the air.
Wow, amazing. So from what I understand, not all radio shows are done live.
No.
Could you explain how it works?
Well, we have an ability to do something we call voice tracking, which means that if a person isn't there or if it's a time of day where it might be more advantageous for that person to do something else, we can literally go into the studio and record the show. We don't have to worry about real time, but generally we just can do it right on the computer and move things around with little icons and put the show together like Legos, so to speak.
Amazing. So,
We do what's called voice tracking, which can be one of two things. I can record a segment that can go on the air, just a part of a show, or we can do an entire show, an entire 4-hour radio shift. And there's a way through the computer that we actually make it sound live in our heads with our headphones, so we have the feeling we're on the air, we get the impression that we're on the air. Once it goes into the computer, it sounds exactly like we're live. Let me show you what I mean here. Cool 96.7, good times and great oldies. Snow coming tonight, that's for sure. 7 o'clock tonight, we begin a blizzard warning in effect till 4 tomorrow afternoon. Heavy at times will be the snow. Overnight, blowing snow, possibly 12 inches on the ground by this time tomorrow. Right now, we're starting cloudy skies, 32 at cool. Cool 96.7, good times and great oldies. Blizzard warning in effect coming up in just a little bit at 7 o'clock tonight. It'll run through 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Snow heavy at times, maybe as much as 2 inches an hour on the ground. But this time tomorrow we could have 12 inches. Cloudy right now. It's 32 degrees at cool.
on a similar note, not all the radio shows are taped at the studio. Could you explain who owns this radio station and how they syndicate the shows?
Well, again, we're owned by Cox, which is one of the major broadcasting companies in the country. There's about 7 right now that own pretty much 80% of all the radio and television stations in the U.S., and Cox is the 4th largest in the country. They lots of times will take programs that we do here and send them to other radio stations within the family and use them. We also go to outside sources. We use a gentleman named Dick Bartley who lives in Westport, who produces a show called Rock and Roll's Greatest Hits. He does it literally out of his basement, but with very sophisticated equipment, and it's heard on about 300 radio stations around the country, including us, which just happens to be 4 miles down the road from where he does it.
And what do you think the effect of satellite radio will be on normal radio?
Satellite radio is opening up radio again, probably for the first time in a couple of decades. As I said, a lot of these big corporations have owned radio stations lately, and some of the local aspects of radio have gone away. Satellite's bringing that back, allowing a little more freedom, a little less research, a little more fun, and it generally just makes the market more interesting. It certainly isn't going to kill any old radio stations or any type of broadcasting. It just makes it better.
Oh, great. So today we received a behind-the-scenes look at radio on what being a disc jockey would be like. We learned about the technical side of radio as well as some of the industry secrets. We hope this program shed some light on the human side of airwaves. So we would like to thank our guest Mike Robb for joining us today.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. Join us for an interesting new guest on the next Person to Person. Thank you and good day.
Cool 96.7, good times, great oldies. That does it for Mike Robb. I will see you tomorrow.